This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
It's the Noon Report from Family Life, bringing a Christian worldview to what's happening in New York, Pennsylvania, across the country, and around the world. Weather with Kevin Williams, plus special features and reports with the Family Life News team. Now, here's what's happening.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the broadcast. We'll begin in a courtroom in New York City where toppled Venezuelan strongman Nicolas Maduro and his wife are being arraigned this hour on drug trafficking and weapons charges. Legal analyst Caroline Polisi says of Maduro,
he is a terrorist, a narco-terrorist. He's been killing hundreds of thousands of Americans for decades.
The Maduros were captured over the weekend following a daring raid on their compound in Caracas. Correspondent Lucas Tomlinson.
This was a showdown between President Trump and Maduro, and there could only be one winner, and President Trump doesn't like to lose.
President Trump says the U.S. will run Venezuela until there's a peaceful transition of power.
Don't ask me who's in charge because I'll give you an answer and it'll be very controversial.
What does that mean?
It'll be we're in charge.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio says the U.S. is not at war with Venezuela, and Maduro's ouster from power is not about securing oil. It's about returning power to the people of Venezuela.
What's going to happen here is that we have a quarantine on their oil. That means their economy will not be able to move forward until the conditions that are in the national interest of the United States and the interest of the Venezuelan people are met. And that's what we intend to do.
He adds, more than anything else, this raid was about protecting America and Americans.
No more drugs, no more trained at agua gangs coming our direction, and no more country in our hemisphere that becomes a crossroads for every single adversary we have around the world. Hezbollah, Iran, all of them have turned it into their playground.
In a social media post last night, Venezuela's acting president, Delcy Rodriguez, issued an appeal for peace and cooperation with the U.S. Nicolas Maduro and his wife were taken into custody in a military incursion dubbed Operation Absolute Resolve early Saturday. Democrats are decrying the capture of Maduro, arguing it undermines the rule of law and endangers global stability. Maryland's Chris Van Hollen thinks oil, more than national security, is what motivated the ouster of the Venezuelan dictator.
They took out the leader. Now they're demanding access to Venezuela's oil. That's what this has been about.
Vermont Congresswoman Becca Balint.
I'm angry. This was not necessary. This was not legal. And this is dangerous that we can arrest a leader and kidnap them, essentially.
But South Carolina Republican Nancy Mace says no congressional authority was necessary to arrest Maduro or his wife.
This was a surgical military apprehension for a fugitive. It was not an act of war.
The elite army unit that captured Maduro trained for months on a replica of that compound where the Venezuelan strongman was holed up. Retired Delta Force member John McPhee says execution of the military operation was, in a word, flawless.
These guys plan for this. They train for this. Basically, they spend their whole adult lives for this one mission.
McPhee says the Army Aviation Regiment, known as the Night Stalkers, deserves a lot of credit for getting those elite soldiers into the Maduro compound.
The most difficult task is getting in on the ground. Once the guys are on the ground, they can handle themselves. However, you got to get to the fight if you're going to have a fight.
No U.S. forces were killed in the raid, but up to 80 Venezuelans died during that military mission. Other news today, Minnesota's governor and the 2024 Democratic vice presidential nominee, Tim Walz, has a news conference this hour where he will announce he's not seeking re-election. This is a massive fraud scandal continues to plague his state. The chairman of the House Oversight Committee is demanding that Walz testify about COVID-era fraud in Minnesota's safety net programs. Several child welfare operations run by Somali nationals are accused of misusing taxpayer dollars in Minnesota.
This is the biggest story in America right now. The massive amounts of fraud taking place in Minnesota.
Kentucky Congressman James Comer says that fraud could top $9 billion. So far, nearly 100 suspects have been charged. Over 60 have been convicted.
We want to see people put in jail. We want to see politicians held accountable. We want to see these criminals from Somalia that have defrauded the federal government. We want to see them deported back to where they came from.
In response to the allegations, the Trump administration's paused federal funding to child care programs in Minnesota. Again, that news conference with Governor Walz is expected to happen this hour in St. Paul. Heavy police activity reported overnight at the private home of Vice President J.D. Vance in Cincinnati. Video from the scene showed windows apparently damaged in what may have been an act of vandalism or an attempted break-in. Vance spent the New Year's holiday at home but returned to Washington on Sunday. Local police say a suspect is in custody. And car makers this week are showing off their latest gadgetry at the yearly auto show in Las Vegas.
From high-tech robots to better rear-view mirrors to new safety items, the technology at this show impacts the way vehicles are driven and built. Very important, says telemetry analyst Sam Abul-Samad.
Technology has always been a key part of the automobile, and it has become increasingly important.
Expect several announcements involving self-driving cars and even self-driving semi-trucks. Jeff Gilbert, Las Vegas.
Still to come on the Noon Report, remembering the Ralph, Turnpike hike, and snowmobile safety tips.
Good afternoon. I'm Kevin Williams, talking about a bit of a January thaw on the way. Forecast details are up in 10.
All right, Kevin, we'll see you then. Let's check the stories making news where you live. It's back to work and back to school following the long holiday break. And while families and friends got together for Christmas and New Year's, they were also spreading the flu bug. Cases are rising faster and earlier than last year. Last week, New York State set a record for hospitalizations due to flu.
The numbers are rising with no peak in sight, and across the nation, emergency rooms are filling up. From California to New York, 15 states have a title of very high flu activity. Right now, 7.5 million illnesses. That's 3 million additional illnesses compared to the week prior. 81,000 hospitalizations. That's a 65% increase, totaling 3,100 deaths so far. Right now, we are still in the midst of the rising tide of this flu. We have yet to see a peak, which means we have to prepare and protect ourselves.
That's infectious disease expert Dr. Darian Sutton. The flu season typically peaks in February or early March. The Buffalo Bills played what could be their last ever game at Highmark Stadium yesterday, and they went out in style, drubbing the Jets at the Ralph.
I was here for the first game in September. I was 8 years old. I was here at the first game against the Jets, and I'm here at the last game against the Jets.
Longtime Bills fans telling Spectrum News it's sad to see the curtain close on their longtime stadium.
It's a sad day, but it's a happy day.
I can't think of anywhere else that I would rather be than right here, right now.
The Ralph's been called many things over the years, everything from Ralph Wilson Stadium to Rich Stadium to New Era Field to Highmark Stadium. Former Bills quarterback Jim Kelly.
The memories, it's wild because my first game as a Buffalo Bill was against the Jets, and I ran out of the tunnel, and a dream come true for me.
The new Highmark Stadium will open next season across the street from the old one. Reporter Trina Catterson continues our coverage.
For 53 seasons, the Buffalo Bills and Bills Mafia shared their Sundays under the bright lights of Highmark Stadium. At Sunday's game against the Jets, fans showed up one last time, filling the stands and saying goodbye.
There are so many fond memories that we have here, from concerts to football games, standing in the stands at 15 below.
That report from WIVB's Trina Catterson in Orchard Park. The Bills will travel to Jacksonville next Sunday to take on the Jaguars in the playoffs. The Pittsburgh Steelers, meantime, will be hosting the Houston Texans next Monday after eking out a 2-point win last night over division rival Baltimore in the final game of the regular season. Ravens kicker Tyler Loop missed a last-second field goal to preserve the win for the Steelers. Sportscaster Mike Tirico had the call on NBC.
Tyler Loop from 44. Snap good. Hold it. The kick is no good. It is wide right. And the Steelers are the champions of the North.
And the other team of local interest, the Philadelphia Eagles, they got the number 3 seed in the NFC and will host the San Francisco 49ers next Sunday. New York and Pennsylvania politicians are giving mixed reviews to the military action that removed Venezuelan strongman Nicolas Maduro from power. New York Governor Kathy Hochul called it a flagrant abuse of power. New York Congressman and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries.
This was not simply a counter-narcotics operation. It was an act of war.
Correspondent C.B. Cotton gets more reaction from New York's top leaders.
New York City Democratic Socialist Mayor Zohran Mamdani said he directly called President Trump yesterday to criticize the Venezuelan strikes. New York State Attorney General Letitia James wrote on X yesterday, Maduro was a brutal dictator who caused pain and suffering, while adding that she also believes in the Constitution and as such, quote, I am deeply concerned with the administration's continued abuse of the rule of law.
But New York Republican Mike Lawler praised the raid, saying it will make America safer. Both Pennsylvania Senators Dave McCormick and John Fetterman also supported the operation, arguing it will curtail the flow of deadly drugs into America. Fetterman was interviewed on Fox News this morning.
I don't know why we can't just acknowledge that it's been a good thing what's happened. We all wanted this man gone, and now he is gone. I think we should really salute our military, what they've done. That was really surgical and precise and very efficient.
The federal 4-count indictment against Maduro accuses him of turning Venezuela into a drug pipeline to flood the U.S. with thousands of tons of dangerous narcotics. An investigation is underway into what sparked a horrific fire in Henrietta, New York, that displaced over 24 people. Firefighters were called to an apartment building on Farrell Road to find smoke and flames coming from the basement. Crews were forced to enter the building from a second-floor window after heat from the fire caused the first-floor entrance to collapse. Miraculously, no one was injured. It's a new year, and that means another rate hike on the Pennsylvania Turnpike. Here's Family Life's Brian Query.
All those who travel the Pennsylvania Turnpike began paying more Sunday when tolls jumped by 4%. According to the Turnpike Commission, that is the lowest hike in 12 years, but fares have increased each of the past 17 years and are expected to continue to rise until 2050. The hikes have been blamed on the Turnpike Commission's requirement under Act 44 to pay PennDOT $450 million a year. That total has since dropped, and the Turnpike Commission since 2022 has given PennDOT $50 million a year and used the toll increases to pay down debt. Traveling the length of the turnpike in a car or SUV from the Ohio line to the New Jersey line will now cost $54.56 for Easy Pass users and $109.12 for toll by plate. Brian Query, Family Life News.
The new year means a bigger paycheck for Pennsylvania's Governor Josh Shapiro. He is poised to become the highest paid governor in the country. Shapiro's $8,000 income boost will increase his yearly salary to over $250,000. New York Governor Kathy Hochul is the second highest paid chief executive. Conversely, the nation's lowest paid governor is Maine's Janet Mills. She commands a salary of just $70,000 a year. The 2026 race for governor in New York making a pit stop in Western New York over the weekend. Governor Hochul speaking at a church in Buffalo where she touted a middle-class tax cut, which she says will put more money in the pockets of about 8 million New Yorkers. She also reminded voters of the rebate checks that went out a few months ago.
We actually gave inflation rebate checks up to $400 for families. And for your kids or grandkids under the age of 4, you're going to get a $1,000 check to help them with the costs of everything. I've got a couple of grandbabies, and I know with the cost of diapers and formulas.
Republican gubernatorial candidate and current Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman talks about what he will do if elected.
First thing I'll do is cancel the migrant program, cancel us being a sanctuary state, use that money to invest in our communities so we can create jobs, economic development, and prosperity people. The way to make
things more affordable is to put more money in people's pockets.
Blakeman emerged as the GOP frontrunner after North Country Congresswoman Elise Stefanik dropped out of the race late last year. New York Republicans are demanding more accountability from Governor Hochul when it comes to rooting out fraud and abuse in the state's safety net programs. GOP leaders want the governor to hire an independent auditor to investigate COVID-era schemes, much like what has rocked the state of Minnesota. Senate Minority Leader Rob Ort says it behooves Hochul to take the necessary steps to ensure that crooks are not misusing taxpayer dollars. New York Republican leaders also note that rooting out fraud is especially timely, given New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani's mission to pump public funding into universal child care. Snowmobile season is in full swing now, and experts are reminding winter sports enthusiasts to play it safe on the trails.
We harp on a lot of safety and all the signage that is out there to understand what that means.
Wayne County, New York Sheriff Deputy Matt Reindock.
It's a privilege. It's not a right to ride on the trails. If it wasn't for these private landowners that are offering up their land for us to use, we would be really limited in our 200 miles of trails that are in Wayne County.
Reindock telling Spectrum News that excessive speed is the number one cause of snowmobile accidents.
Driving at a appropriate speed, the speed for the conditions and for their experience. New York state law, you can't go over 55 miles an hour, and in some cases it's less than that if it's properly posted. That is the biggest factor that we see for causes of accidents is unsafe speeds.
He adds inexperienced drivers and teenagers need to take a snowmobile safety course. There were a total of 122 snowmobile accidents in New York last year, with 5 of those ending in fatalities. The new sheriff of Lycoming County, Pennsylvania, was sworn in this morning in Williamsport. Eric Spiegel served as chief deputy the past 5 years under former Sheriff Mark Lusk. Spiegel is only the county's 4th sheriff in the past 6 decades. Sports is next. It's the 2-minute drill on Family Life.
Good afternoon, I'm Randy Snavely. Bob, the regular season of the NFL has come to an end and the playoff brackets are now set. The Bills played their final game at Highmark Stadium and made easy work of the Jets, and they did it without Josh Allen. Allen took the first snap from scrimmage to keep his consecutive game-started streak alive. Then Mitch Trubisky came on, and he had a career game, tossing 4 touchdown passes on 22 of 29 attempts to lead Buffalo to a convincing 35-8 victory. Because the Chargers lost their game, Buffalo moved up to the 6th seed, and they will take on the Jags in Jacksonville on Sunday. The Steelers won a thriller against the Ravens in a game where the winner was division champs and the loser's season ended. Aaron Rodgers tossed the go-ahead 26-yard touchdown pass with under a minute left, and Baltimore missed a potential game-winning field goal from 44 yards out as time expired. 26-24 the final. Pittsburgh will host the Texans next Monday night. The Giants ended their season with a 34-17 thumping of the Cowboys, and that wrapped it up for both teams. The Falcons knocked off the Saints 19-17. That gave Carolina the division title. Other winners, the Browns, Vikings, Jags, Texans, Lions, Broncos, Raiders, Rams, Patriots, and Commanders. NBA winners, the Pistons, Magic, Nets, Heat, T-Wolves, Suns, Bucks, and Lakers. And on the ice, Montreal, Pittsburgh, Florida, Carolina, and Chicago all skated to victories. That is a look at sports.
All right, thank you, Randy. Still to come on the Noon Report, Maduro's day in court. What next for Venezuela? And more on the flu spreading fast this winter.
Welcome to Breakpoint, a daily look at an ever-changing culture through the lens of unchanging truth. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stonestreet. Recently, the New York Post reported on the rise of digital detox camps where worried parents hire experts at up to $8,000 a session to help their children be less addicted to their screens. Now, the kids hate it. As one founder described in a related Wire article, campers experience actual withdrawal symptoms. Some stash extra phones in their backpacks. Others even run away to avoid being separated from their devices. The popularity of these detox camps relates curiously to another emerging trend, kid concierge services. Parents pay hundreds of dollars for so-called professionals to teach their children how to organize their backpacks, how to throw a ball, how to ride a bike. Apparently, the new gig economy includes gig parenting. Now, of course, there are many instances in which professionals are needed for overwhelmed parents, and many students need serious help with screen addiction. Still, at least in general, shouldn't parents be the ones who are saying no to unlimited screens? Shouldn't they be doing the hard work of training their kids to perform the everyday mundane tasks of life? Saying no to kids, throwing a ball with them, limiting video games until their room is clean. These are all normal and natural responsibilities of being a parent. Are more parents convinced they can't do these things? Even worse, are they now sure that they shouldn't have to do such things? Part of the answer here lies in what Thomas Aquinas described as the order of loves. God created us to love Him and to love others. Our highest love and loyalty are intended for God Himself, followed by those closest to us, especially kids and family, and then neighbors, and then the wider world. This order reflects how God created the world, how He intended His image bearers to inhabit it. How we order or, after the fall, disorder our loves lies at the root of what we value and how we live. Cultures either cultivate order or disorder. Ours normalizes expending energy and affections on activities and things that have little to do with God, but are instead centered on self. This ordering reshapes, or rather misshapes, our values. Thus, we're told to value family as long as we don't find them too toxic. We should have kids if we want them, and always on our own terms. See, the priority here is always self. If we feel too tired or overwhelmed to offer correction or instruction, why shouldn't we outsource the most annoying parts of parenting to someone else? Now, of course, at one level, history is really the story of humans thwarting or attempting to thwart God's created order. Stalinist, Maoist, Nazi societies, for example, all encouraged their children to disobey their parents and to prioritize the state over the family. Parental authority was seen as being in service to the state. How parents were marginalized in those cultures is not completely unlike ours, such as when children are socially transitioned by school officials without parental knowledge, much less consent. When you add in the forces of social media, then kids are easily swept into radical social ideas and separated from their parents, even if they're just upstairs. God gave children to parents. He gave parents authority over children. Though it can feel overwhelming, Scripture does contain what parents need to know, to love, to discipline, to order our lives with and around our children. In that order, parents are first and non-negotiable. And the goal of parenting is adults who are well-ordered themselves and ready to bring up the next generation. For the Colson Center, I'm John Stonestreet with Breakpoint.
All right, John, thank you very much. Let's head outside next. The always dependable Kevin Williams.
Here is your family life forecast for this afternoon. Still a bit of snow in the air, mainly across central New York. Otherwise, mainly cloudy, high temps, mid-20s to mid-30s. Mainly cloudy tonight. Then clouds break a bit, low temps 20s. Tomorrow, glimpse of early sun, otherwise cloudy. Rain will arrive later in the day. Could be mixed with a little freezing rain or sleet, especially in central New York and the eastern Twin Tiers. High temps in the mid-30s to the mid-40s. And on Wednesday, cloudy, chance of a bit of morning rain or drizzle or flurry with high temps mid-30s to the middle 40s.
Thank you, Kevin. This is the Noon Report. I'm your host, Bob Price. Here's what's going on Monday, January 5th, 2026. It's arraignment day for former Venezuelan strongman Nicolas Maduro. He and his wife facing drug trafficking and weapons charges in a New York City courtroom. This follows that daring raid early Saturday by the U.S. military to capture the alleged kingpin at his compound in Caracas.
Maduro is at the head of a drug cartel that's pouring drugs into the country.
George Washington University law professor Jonathan Turley says Maduro will use the same defense at his trial that Manuel Noriega did when he was plucked from Panama 36 years ago.
You're going to start with threshold challenges that are going to be much like Noriega's challenges, that he was a head of state and had immunity. That's going to be a big problem. problem because he really wasn't the head of state if you ask the people of Venezuela.
Turley says the people of Venezuela view Maduro as a drug warlord. They say he stole an election in the summer of 2024. This Venezuelan fled his home country to seek a better life in South Florida.
There's so much meaning behind finally having a glimmer of hope and light of having our country freed for so many years. We have generations in Venezuela that don't know what liberty is. They've never, ever had a real shot at freedom.
Still, some Democrats on Capitol Hill are up in arms over the military operation to remove Maduro from power. New Jersey Senator Chris Murphy.
Over and over again, we have seen these warmongering neocons, many of which have influence in this White House, cheerlead us into war under the guise of removing a very bad man. That ends up getting a lot of Americans killed.
No Americans died in the capture of Maduro, and Secretary of State Marco Rubio says we are not at war with Venezuela.
This is not an invasion. We didn't occupy a country. This was an arrest operation. This was a law enforcement operation.
Rubio adds our military deserves a lot of credit for how they conducted the operation.
It is not easy to land helicopters in the middle of the largest military base in the country. The guy lived on a military base. Land within 3 minutes, kick down his door, grab him, put him in handcuffs, read him his rights, put him in a helicopter, and leave the country without losing any American or any American assets. I do think this is one of the most daring, complicated, sophisticated missions this country has carried out in a very long time. It was unbelievable.
President Trump says the U.S. will run Venezuela until there's a peaceful transfer of power. NBC's Richard Engel.
This is President Trump asserting his policy that he is defining, I think we can call it the Trump doctrine now, in which he wants the United States to assert dominance all over the region, for it not just to be America first, but the Americas first with him in charge. And it is a new policy, it is a risky policy, and a slippery slope.
Venezuela's acting president, Delcy Rodriguez, took to social media last night to call for peace and dialogue with the U.S. Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton says whomever assumes power in Caracas will have their work cut out for them.
We want them to stop the drug and the weapons trafficking. We want them to take the refugees back. We want them to kick out the Iranians, the Cubans, the Islamic radicals like Hezbollah, and just return to being a normal nation that will help build stability, order, and prosperity, not just in Venezuela, but in our backyard.
The Trump administration will brief Congress today on the details of the mission to capture Maduro, a mission that's been dubbed Operation Absolute Resolve. Other news today, big news out of Minnesota. Governor Tim Walz holding a press conference where he will announce he is not seeking re-election. This comes as the one-time Democratic VP pick faces growing criticism over numerous fraud scandals in Minnesota. Walz has served 2 terms as governor. Flu cases continue to rise from sea to shining sea. 29 states are seeing infection rates higher than last year. Correspondent Emily Akeda.
Well, if you haven't had the flu, chances are you know someone at least who has been dealing with those dreaded body aches, coughing fits, and fevers. And now doctors are urging caution as many return to the workplace, with the number of infections and hospitalizations climbing to levels not seen in years.
Experts say this year's flu strain is making people sicker longer. Over 80,000 Americans have been hospitalized with flu. New York State is seeing record cases of influenza this winter. As if there hasn't been enough already, more snow is falling across central New York today. Up to 6 inches of fresh fallen fluff is possible by tonight. Many there are still digging out from that multi-day lake effect event that dropped feet of snow, especially in New York's North Country and the Tug Hill Plateau. And the Buffalo Bills played what is very likely their last game ever at the half-century-old Highmark Stadium in Orchard Park, New York. Yesterday, we get more from Family Life's Dee Haley.
The Buffalo Bills beat the New York Jets 35-8 in the final regular season game at Highmark Stadium. Bills fans and legends traveled from all over the country to be there, sharing memories of stadium events. Meanwhile, the surprise unfolded for a longtime Stadium employee. Army veteran Jack Hofstetter, who has been part of Stadium history since day one in 1973, is headed to Super Bowl 60. Hofstetter was honored with Super Bowl tickets and a special jersey as the Bills closed out their final season at the current stadium. The Buffalo Bills head to Jacksonville next weekend to face the Jaguars in the wild card round of the NFL playoffs. Dee Haley, Family Life News.
All right, Dee, thank you very much. What a moment that was yesterday in Western New York. You're listening to the Noon Report for a Monday on Family Life.
Good afternoon. Here is your Family Life regional weather forecast. The disturbance that brought a bit of snow to some areas earlier today is moving away now. And the next system moving in, coming in from the Midwest, is going to bring in some milder air. And most of us will end up with some rain. In the meantime, for this afternoon, still a bit of snow in the air, mainly across central New York. Otherwise, mainly cloudy, high temps, mid-20s to mid-30s. Mainly cloudy tonight. Then clouds break a bit, low temps 20s. Tomorrow, glimpse of early sun, otherwise cloudy. Rain will arrive later in the day. Could be mixed with a little freezing rain or sleet, especially in central New York and the eastern Twin Tiers. High temps in the mid-30s to the mid-40s. And on Wednesday, cloudy, chance of a bit of morning rain or drizzle or a flurry with high temps, mid-30s to the middle 40s.
All right, thank you very much, Kevin Williams. And finally, at noon today, it's one of the sweetest days on the rink in the sweetest place on earth. Sunday was the annual Hershey Bears Teddy Bear Toss in Hershey, Pennsylvania. That semi-pro hockey team hosting the Rockford Ice Hogs at the Giant Center in Hershey for the 2026 edition of this cuddly tradition. In keeping with tradition, after the Bears scored their first goal, fans inundated the rink with stuffed animals of all sorts. This year didn't quite set a record, but it was still quite a downpour. Watch the video, you'll see. 81,796 toys were collected. Now, since its inception in 2001, this event has collected 650,000 toys, which are then distributed to more than 60 charities as part of the Hershey Bears Cares program, the Teddy Bear Toss in Hershey, Pennsylvania, unlike any other anywhere in America. And that's our world, the world we live in. Monday, January 5th, 2026. I'm Bob Price, Family Life News.
You've been listening to the Noon Report, heard weekdays on Family Life. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.